it doesn't feel weird to me to shoot on the left shoulder.
Yeah,
It's all I know. I look like a drunk giraffe trying to shoot right-handed on a long gun. I'm Ryan Gresham, and this is Gun Talk Nation. Gun Talk Nation is brought to you by Colt, Black Hills Ammunition, Guns and Gear, Safari Specialty Importers, Military Armament Corporation, Range Ready, and Ruger. Hey, welcome into Gun Talk Nation. Today on Gun Talk Nation, we're going to talk about shotguns. And I think for a lot of us, shotguns, shooting flying things in the air is either you love it or you hate it, or you love it and you're not good at it. That's me. And but we got a guy who knows some things about that. Joe Pinchin, welcome in, man.
Thank you for having me. Looking forward to talking about some of these things and sporting clays in general.
Yeah. So Joe, you're from Florida, but you're actually local to us, and you work at actually a phenomenal place, Covey Lodge, up in Husser, Louisiana, which everybody goes, what the heck, Husser? It's what, an hour and a half north of New Orleans, roughly.
Yeah.
Something like that. So, and I said, well, you're a pro shooter, you're a pro staff. I always think of it like the golf pro at a golf course. Is that a way you describe it?
Somewhat, yeah. The teaching side of it, teaching members, getting members involved and more engaged, in the sport and events. So in many ways, yes, very similar.
Yeah. But how'd you get started in this? You're from Florida and you grew up shooting sporting clays?
Yeah. So, I tried my hand at a bunch of sports, liked playing a lot of them, growing up. And then I remember one day, my dad had hunted and he had shot clays in Jamaica, where my family's originally from. And he was like, you know what, Joe, like I had a basketball game the night of, and he was like, I want you to go to this youth clay shooting program. And I was like, but I have a game, like I don't want to miss it. He's like, just trust me and try it. And I trusted him. I tried it and I fell in love with it immediately the first night. And then it just became a matter of when are we going back?
Wow.
When are we going back? And now I'm still doing it 12, 13 years later. So it's been a fun journey.
I think that is true. When I've got kids, and when I was growing up, drums, I play drums. And when you find something that you're like, you don't have to coax the kid into doing.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, the kid is asking to go do it or just wants to be really good at something. That's their thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's hard to describe that. Like at that moment, I was like, man, I really like this. And some of my best friends, people I consider family, and really how I kind of got to where I'm working today is all because of this sport and the community that is in it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Were you any good when you started out? Did you have some natural ability to start out, or was it a struggle?
For sure. I think, there was a little natural ability, but I remember the first time, like I know the exact number of how many so we shot trap. But it's kind of out of 90 or 25, and I had shot a 11 out of 25.
First time?
First time.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it is pretty good, but like me thinking at the time, you're a kid and you don't really know. I was like, man, I just missed 14 of them. Like I couldn't even get 50%. And I think it was like me getting angry that I didn't get as many. And I was like, man, I want to go back out and get more.
Now, I find that especially shotgun shooters have that hand-eye coordination. Like my grandfather was a really good shotgun shooter. He was also a really good baseball player, a really good basketball player. Were you a good athlete in other things too, just having hand-eye coordination?
Yeah, like I could remember like any sport that involved throwing. So whether it was football or when I was a lot younger, just throwing stuff around, like I was always really accurate. And precise with those kind of sports. I could shoot a basketball somewhat well, so there was always some, I think, innate hand-eye coordination, but shooting was just the best outlet for it, I guess.
Yeah, it's great. And it's different. I mean, shooting a shotgun at Clay's, it's so fun because we do everything here at Gun Talk, right? We shoot pistols, rifles, and shotguns. And when I'm having to switch from shooting an AR with a red dot or shooting a pistol where you have to focus on the front sight versus a shotgun, I mean, you're literally on a pistol, you're saying, don't look at the target. Have a hard, crisp focus on the front side of the gun, which is the exact opposite of a shotgun, right?
Oh, 100%. And I have a lot of people that will come in for lessons at Covey Rise, and they're rifle and pistol shooters. And obviously, like you said, there's a lot more barrel awareness, a lot more focus on what directly in front of you. So it's two different worlds completely.
Yeah. And you have to like recalibrate. I mean, I have to recalibrate my brain to go, okay, different thing, different game. Look, you want to have a hard focus on the target. Am I saying that right? I mean,
No, yeah, you're 100% right. I think I've heard the analogy that like when you're driving a car, right? Your primary focus is the road, but you have full awareness of where the hood of your car is, right?
Sure.
So it's no different like that. Your primary focus is the target, but the barrel, you'll have more awareness or less awareness depending on the target presentation. But your main focus is on the target. You're aware of where your barrel is.
Yeah. Well, and we'll get more into that. I want to talk about, some of those kind of like constructive tips for people. We were talking about eye dominance, and we'll kind of get into some of your tips and experiences that you've had with that, with yourself and teaching people. But when you came in, we were talking about, we're in this world of guns, and we would say Gun Talk. We're fairly broad. We cover all things guns, but how do you see it? How's the differences between the shotgun world and then like the rifle and pistol world?
Honestly, and I'd love to know your take as well, but like the shotgun world, like I know it really well just because I've been immersed in it and have been in it my whole life. But like, and I don't know if this is just how it is or my kind of view on it because I've only ever been in the shotgun world, but like the rifle and pistol world seems almost intimidating. Like there's so much going on, so many different guns, so many different attachments and sights and different things like that. So it's like, it is a vastly different.
Maybe more gear focused than the shotgun world. I mean, shotgun has its gear side of things, right?
Yeah, it definitely does have its gear side of things, but I think when you're looking at a shotgun, right, like there's only so much that you can do to that gun. With the stock, the fit, you can get different barrels and stuff like that, but I feel like the design and the customization of rifles and pistols like far outweighs anything you could do with a shotgun. Like most of the guns people shoot in the shotgun world are going to stay stock, or they might get a custom stock or, get something engraved, but it's really not a whole lot that you'd want to do deviating from how you actually got it.
Yeah. I think also in the shotgun world, the places that you go to shoot are different. I mean, they're like Covey Rise. I mean, it's kind of like a country club. I mean, it's very nice, high end. They've got a restaurant, they got a bar after you finish shooting. But they've got they host weddings at Covey Rise. That's how nice it is. I mean, no one's hosting a wedding at the dirt pit with a burn barrel where you're shooting water heaters. Okay, like the guys who shoot rifles and pistols, the ranges, there are nice ranges, but usually it's just a different vibe.
Yeah. That's interesting to me just because I don't know what like your typical nice rifle and pistol range looks like. I've been to a few and most of them are pretty simple, but I'm sure there's ones that are very, very nice. You know what I mean? But no, the places that you shoot at typically it's so interesting because you'll go from one region of the country to the next, and the terrain varies, right? Like the climate, and as you know, it's an outdoor sport, so you're subject to all of these things, and it makes every shooting experience unique, right? There's not like one experience at a different club that looks the same as the other.
Right.
There's so many different variables, and that's why I enjoy it so much.
Man, that's a whole nother area that I'm thinking about. The different courses, and we'll kind of get into sporting clays. Is that your main game, sporting clays?
Yep, sporting clays. I grew up shooting some trap and skeet, but as soon as I picked up sporting clays, just fell in love with it.
Yeah. So, I mean, sporting clays, probably most people listening to this know, but I mean, you have a course laid out with different stages. And I don't know if it's the same. It may be 10 to 20 stages, somewhere in there.
Yeah, so your typical sporting clays course is usually going to be around like 13 to 16 stations, all comprised of mainly 3 or 4 pairs, so 6 or 8 shots equaling 100 targets.
Yeah, and it's laid out however they want to lay it out. So it's different everywhere you go. It's a different look. One of the weird things for me is, I think we were talking about vision and eyesight and seeing the targets and picking it up. It matters. You wouldn't think it would matter, but like, is it amongst the trees, or is it, or the targets into the sky, or one of the really crazy ones, and you've probably experienced it, is we don't really have a lot of topography here, but if they're throwing clays off of like a hill or a mountain into just space, it's like this thing's never going to land, right? Yeah. That screws with seeing the target.
Oh, for sure. I mean, and you hit on most of it, but there's so many different nuances with the visual aspects of sporting clays, like, shooting in the woods at 9 a.m. in the morning and seeing targets strobe and become blurry, or shooting in Arizona where you have limited to no depth perception and you're just shooting in open sky in the mountains. You're like, I don't know if this is a 35-yard shot or a 55-yard shot.
Yeah, it's just a little tiny clay flying at 50 miles an hour that's somewhere up there in the sky.
Correct.
In the bright Arizona sun.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk. Let's do this. Let's talk about vision. A lot of people talk about eye dominance, cross-eye dominance, and how important that is, probably more so in shotgun shooting than any other type of shooting. And if you're not a good shotgun shooter, Joe may have some ideas for you. And we're going to talk about that after the break. Why do serious hunters use Safari Specialty Importers? Because getting your trophies home is all they do. It's white glove service from beginning to end. They know how to navigate the customs office and even have their own bonded warehouse to keep your trophies in while they clear customs. Most important to me is that they are hunters who understand the value of these once-in-a-lifetime trophies. Learn more at safarispecialtyimporters.com. Engineered for precision, performance, and versatility, the Colt Optics Ready 1911 competition pistols are the perfect choice for competitive shooters looking to gain an edge. We're talking about 1911s in either 9mm or 45, and they're cut for optics. I mean, that's like cheating. You get a red dot on top of a Colt 1911. They're versatile. They're great with an optics plate system. Seamless experience for those who want to take their shooting game to the next level. You can learn more over at Colt.com. Want to hear about the latest and greatest in the world of guns? Well, 17 seasons of Guns and Gear, and we are back with another one. You can watch it live on Wednesday nights on the Outdoor Channel, or tune in on all the Gun Talk online channels to see what we're up to. Guns, optics, ammo, we test it all, we interview experts, and we showcase it to you. The latest and the greatest, a new season of Guns and Gear out now. You've probably heard about the Ruger RXM pistol. It's the result of a collaboration between Ruger and Magpul. American-made handgun, stands out with a variety of upgraded features, including direct mount optic cut slide. So you can put an RMR, Delta Point Pro, RMSC cuts with co-witness height sights. It also has their fire control insert. It's a removable stainless steel insert. That's the serialized part of the gun, which enables you to customize using Magpul enhanced grip handgun grips. And so they have different colors, different sizes. You can really customize it. It's Gen 3 compatible, so it works with magazines that you may already own. And we've tested it. We shot it a lot, and we like it. You can learn more about the Ruger RXM over at Ruger.com. All right, people who listen to this a lot know, Joe, that I shoot wrong-handed. I'm right-handed as a human. I shoot left-handed long guns. I'm left-eye dominant. Is why I shoot the long guns left-handed or left-shouldered. I really think of it as left-shouldered. I shoot handguns right-handed because all I have to do is just move my head just a slight amount, and I still use my left eye. Yeah. So I'm all screwed up. But there's a plan in my screwed upness. Talk about eye dominance, because you were kind of asking me. I was talking about how I really enjoy clay shooting. I'm fairly inconsistent, but I mean, I know I'm using my correct eye. I mean, talk about eye dominance. I mean, how much does it matter, and what kind of stuff do you see out there?
Yeah, I think it's very important to be aware of your eye dominance. And it's such an interesting topic because it's not a one size fits all kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, this solution might work for this person, but it won't be the best solution for the other person. And then you have age to be brought into that too, right? So if I have a youth shooter coming to me and he's, say, 13 and he's always shot right-handed, but he's left eye dominant, I'm going to hesitate a lot less to switch him to the left hand earlier on, just because I know that he can adapt to it very quickly, and he probably won't think twice about it. And, within a few hundred rounds will probably become second nature to him.
I was going to ask you, how long do you think it takes to start getting comfortable with switching shoulders?
Yeah, I think it depends on the amount of rounds that you have on the dominant or your dominant shoulder. So if you say you had a whole lifetime worth of shooting done on your right shoulder, but using your left eye, I mean, it's going to take a long time to kind of reverse a lot of that.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's very important to be, diagnosed and kind of aware of it at an early age. So if you are cross dominant, it's a lot easier to fix it at that time. But then, with cross dominance, if you have, I guess, a stronger eye on each side, there are some solutions, like putting a patch on. So that is not going to be, it's probably not going to change your world, right? But it'll help mitigate some of the, I guess, the power that other eye is taking over. But I am a big proponent that if I can and it's suitable at the time for that particular shooter, to switch the hand.
It's that important to actually honor your eye dominance and shoot on that shoulder.
I think it is, yeah. And again, for most people, I don't think that's the case for all people. There are other solutions. Some people, will go a long time and be like center ocular and shoot off whichever shoulder and can be kind of successful with both and not really notice it. But in order to kind of get used to something like that without any corrections or solutions, you'd probably have to have a ton of rounds in. But some people don't seem to be as affected as other people because they trained it, and that eye just got better, and they got better with compensating for different things. So it's.
And I guess if you're breaking 90 out of 100 and you're shooting it wrong, who cares? but if you are struggling, it makes sense to switch. And certainly if you're young enough, it's easier to do it.
For sure.
People will ask me, because I tell them I'm very right-handed. I mean, I mentioned the drummings. I play drums right-handed. I write right-handed, everything. I throw right-handed. But I shoot left-handed on long guns. And people go, does that feel weird? I'm going, I've literally never shot right-handed on a long gun. It just was like, all right, we're going to teach you how to shoot. Obviously, growing up with my dad and my grandpa, who were gun guys and in the gun media, I mean, they started me off the correct way. Test your eye dominance. Okay, you're going to be on the left shoulder. There are so many people who they start out because their dad or their uncle or grandpa just say, all right, put it on your right shoulder and this is how you shoot, right? And they don't even bother figuring out the eye dominance thing. And it doesn't feel weird to me to shoot on the left shoulder.
Yeah.
It's all I know. I look like a drunk giraffe trying to shoot right-handed on a long gun. I mean, I'm just like, oh my God, this feels so awkward.
No, I mean, it's so many different things to talk about and so many smaller solutions mechanically, right? Like, do I need to stay out of my gun longer so that my eye doesn't get attached to that barrel and the focus from the other eye?
Like don't mount it so quickly?
Yeah, so trying to get them to stay out of the gun just long enough to where they can get like a clear and accurate acquisition of the target without the barrel coming into play and the dominance taking over.
Wow. Okay.
So, and I mean, that's just one little thing. You could do little things with stance and how you acquire the target, but it's like an endless array of
Yeah.
small little things.
It's a deep well of stuff there. I mean, one other thing, if you're dealing with maybe some cross dominant thing, or I guess your non-dominant eye trying to creep in, the old like blurring out your shooting glasses on that side a little bit, right?
Yeah, so that's a common solution. I've seen people do it with chapstick. I've seen little sticker dots. I've seen some people just completely like tint their glasses and stuff like that.
Wow.
I think there's a product being made now by Pila that darkens the left side, or whichever your dominant
non-dominant
side,
or whatever. Yeah.
It'll block it out pretty significantly.
Wow.
So that's cool. But no, yeah, a lot of different things like that are pretty common.
Yeah. Yeah. It matters that much, because the thing is, if you're going to have a lot more fun if you're breaking clays.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's like that movie Tin Cup with Kevin Costner, the golf. You hit a shot in golf and you connect with the ball, and it's like, I think they said the tuning fork goes off in your loins. You're just like, what just happened? And if you smoke a clay into dust, it's just the best feeling ever, right?
It is a pretty good feeling. And like we were talking about earlier, it's why I love it. Like when that first clay you hit and you're like, man, I disintegrated that. You're like, that was fun.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people get joy from that, whether they maybe like clays or not.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that it's probably a great universal way to invite people to go shooting too. Certainly shooting 22s, rifles or pistols, easy, fun, plinking, not a lot of recoil, not a lot of noise, but clays, and maybe it's because you shoot in very pretty places. I mentioned a lot of them are like country clubs.
Absolutely.
It's just more approachable, perhaps, and as a way to invite people into shooting guns who maybe you've never even shot a gun before.
No, I think you're absolutely correct, and to touch on that as well, I think that's something that's really unique to the sport, right? So like, take baseball or basketball or maybe tennis, right? At a certain age, unfortunately, you're just not going to be able to play that sport as much as you like. The awesome part about shooting golf is that hopefully when I'm when I'm 70 or when I'm a lot older, I can still be doing the same thing I love, because it doesn't take as much physically out of me. And the longevity of a shooting career is going to be a lot longer. So I think that applies to a broader spectrum of people, just because they can shoot and they can go out and, like you said, make it casual, make it fun and entertaining. But on the competitive side, if you want, you can still pursue that as well. So no, it's and another thing, like, I think a lot of people are used to like your charity golf tournaments.
Right.
And it's really cool because over the years I've seen the shooting charity tournaments get a lot bigger and a lot bigger. So I think that, people in the golf community are, they're like, well, we've always done a golf tournament. Like, let's do a sporting clays tournament. It'll be fun. We can get people out to shoot. And no, I think you're absolutely correct.
Yeah. Let's talk about, I want to talk about getting people into it. So if you invite somebody to go shooting, I kind of mentioned the shooting 22s when you're shooting rifles and pistols, but there's options on the right way to start them off, whether that's a youth shooter, whether that's, I want to get my wife into it, whether that's, I'm just inviting family who's never shot before. And most likely that's not shooting full house 12 gauge loads. So I know you've got ideas. There's lots of gauges. There's lots of ammo out there. There's lots of options. We're going to cover that right after this break. Let me tell you about some of my favorite guns from Military Armament Corporation, or MAC, as many know them. The MAC 9 DS is a double-stack 1911, and in fact, they have an entire line of these double-stack 1911s. Surprisingly affordable. The MAC 5 and MAC 5K are a roller-delayed blowback 9mm pistol inspired by a firearms icon, and they take MP5 mags, if you know what I mean. See more at milarmamentcorp.com. If you're listening to this show, you probably like guns, but how many classes have you take to make you a better shooter? And that's what we do at Range Ready Studios. Range Ready is a premium firearms training academy in Robert, Louisiana, and it's here at the Gun Talk headquarters. We've got a range out back, actually several ranges. We've got classroom, we've got a shoot house, and we've got some of the best instructors around. And I promise, when people come here, the reviews are 5-star. They love it and they improve on their shooting. You can learn more at rangereadystudios.com, and I'll tell you a trick. Sign up for the email list, because you guys that sign up for the email list are the first to hear about our new classes, and they sell out quick. When I'm shopping for guns and gun-related gear, one of the places I always check is Optics Planet, because they have a ton of stuff. They also have stuff that you don't find everywhere, so it's kind of like, wow, that's a neat little product. I didn't realize that was out there. And then they're also running a lot of sales and deals. They're very aggressive in trying to, work that system. They have an offer for Gun Talk listeners. If you enter Gun Talk at checkout, you'll get 5% off any order. 5% off, enter Gun Talk at checkout over at Optics Planet. Go check it out. Find something cool, something that you didn't even know you needed. And now, of course, you do. Black Hills Honey Badger ammo is a solid copper, non-deforming, non-fragmenting projectile with wide, sharp flutes, ballistic broadheads that cut through barriers that cause hollow points to fail, at least sometimes. An overall increase in depth and width of wound cavities. In that moment when you need the best to defend your family's life or your own, you'll appreciate a certain quality the Honey Badger possesses for the least complicated reason in the world. Well, it works. Joseph, new shooters, whether it's youth shooters or an adult who has never shot before, lots of options there. Where do you go?
No, good question. And like you said, I think it's super important that shotgun shooting can be somewhat intimidating. Shooting clays can be somewhat intimidating. So making sure that first experience for whoever's shooting that first time is as good as it can possibly be is super important. And it just depends really. But typically for a first-time shooter, unless it's a full-grown male adult, I'm gonna give them a 20 gauge. A lot smaller youth than we're looking at 28 and 410. And I think a great gun to start off, just about anybody on would be a 20 gauge. And then I think, getting some instruction and just getting them to have fun on that first interaction with the shotgun sports is super important. Because like you said, that first feeling when you hit that clay and it goes up into smoke is pretty enjoyable. But I think with the gauges, it just depends on the height, the weight, and how strong your shooter is, right? Yeah. Your 12 gauges are typically going to be a lot heavier, a lot more recoil, although a lot of the automatics nowadays don't really have a lot of recoil. Nonetheless, though, for a kid or a lady shooter just starting out, I would always almost start with a 20.
And a lot of people will give a youth shooter a 410 because it's the smallest, but there's reasons that may not be the best solution, right?
No, absolutely. So just because it's the smallest gauge, like if I'm starting out, say a 12-year-old kid, and they are, bigger kid or whatever, I don't necessarily want to give him a 410 just because it's the smallest gauge. If I think he can handle a 20 gauge and simultaneously give him the best opportunity to hit more targets, I think that's the solution.
Bottom line is it's harder to break targets with a 410.
Correct.
It's the smallest gauge, which means it has the least amount of pellets and it's the most challenging. I mean, it's almost like, I don't know why I keep going back to golf. I don't even play that much golf, but it's almost like using blades. I mean, there's no forgiveness there. I mean, you just very few pellets. 28 is a great gauge.
I think so too.
A little bit harder to find ammo maybe, or just more expensive ammo or whatever. So 20 seems to be a sweet spot for a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, the 410, like, is it going to be less recoil? Is it going to feel the best for them? Yeah, but it's going to be that much harder to maybe get that feeling unless you're shooting a really easy target of, man, I just, broke that clay. So I think it's just, again, such a wide spectrum of, just different solutions for different people. And I don't think that looks the same for every one person.
You mentioned easy target too. That's a factor. I mean, don't go out to a stage where it's, a 60-yard crosser. Right.
No, you're absolutely right. And I mean, starting in trap was like hard enough for me. But But even like we have a summer camp going on now at Covey, and um, a lot of young kids shooting. So we start them off typically with a 410 if they're very small, and then a 20
Mhm.
gauge. But we start them out just shooting like stationary targets. Like
Oh, okay.
let's practice your stance. Let's practice your fundamentals. Let's get you doing everything right outside of pulling the trigger. Right. We'll
Yeah.
worry about that in just a little bit. I'm more concerned with safety. Getting them comfortable to hold the gun and to then shoot, because
Mhm.
they're going to be a lot more effective once they do. So I think just starting at the ground up and then give them, some easy targets to work on, and then build in that muscle memory of, okay, what is this connection? What is this feeling like for me? And then they'll progress naturally. I mean, kids just progress so fast
Yeah.
without you telling them that much.
Easy target would be going away, right? Straight away.
Yeah, I would say a straightaway starting right in front of you, and then
Mhm.
maybe an incomer, landing at 15 yards, 20
Something
yards.
that's kind of lobbed in, maybe, or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Um, talk about. I want to talk about kind of the pro shooter circuit, the real competitive side of sporting clays, because it's an interesting world.
It is.
Because it's very international. You have these shoots all over the world. Um, there's quite a bit of money and prizes in there, and just talk about some of that people may not realize is going on, both in the United States and other places.
Yeah. So I think, you start with the NSCA, right? That is the Sporting Clays governing body. And within the NSCA, you have different competitions, some which are big blast, which are put on by some big companies that want to sponsor a shoot. Um, those tournaments typically are going to be really heavy on the hospitality, gun
Mhm.
raffles, and it's also going to be a challenging shoot. Um, and then to draw some comparisons, I know you and I have touched on golf a few times, but
Mhm.
think of it like the PGA Tour, right? So your NSCA Tour is going to have, I think, 7 total stops throughout the year, 5 regional stops, which are the equivalent of like your majors,
Mhm.
and then you'll have your U.S. Open and your nationals. Um, and as far as internationally, every year there are the World English Sporting Clay Championship, which is going to be your World Sporting Championship, and then you have the World FITAS Championship, which is more of an international game, but has become very popular in the States, and we have competitors go overseas to compete in that as well.
How do you describe fee task as a game versus maybe trap or sporting clays or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there are a lot of similarities, but FITAS is going to have a lot more variety. There's going to be 3 pegs that make up a parkour. So think about your pegs as a shooting station. There's going to
Okay.
be 3 of those, and some.
Kind of like you'd have in a 5 stand.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
very
Okay.
similar. So, they're going to be different stations. So old style fee task is you'll shoot the same targets from the 3 different pegs to get
Mhm.
3 different looks at them.
Okay.
Each one of those pegs is typically going to be comprised up of different pairs, different singles, which you have 2 shots at, not just one.
So shoot both barrels.
Yeah, you can shoot both barrels at the singles.
Nice. I appreciate that a lot.
And then you have new style fee tasks, which you might get different targets on every different peg you go to. So yeah, it's very interesting, but that's your most popular event internationally.
Wow. And you're not walking around to different all over the course like you would sporting clays. Is that right?
Yeah, so it's not going to be as sequential as a sporting clays course. Like you're not going to go from necessarily. It's like, okay, station 1, 2,
Mhm.
3, 4, and then you'll kind of loop around. Like these parkours are going to all comprise of these 3 pegs and be in different locations. Now there will be somewhat of an order, but it's a lot more spread out and not as structured maybe as like you're just like station numbers, right?
Yeah. What is it people like so much about it?
I think that there's a really unique challenge. I always tell people that the reason I love FETASC is because I think it brings out the best in me and the worst in me.
Okay.
So I think like if I'm doing everything mechanically right, and in FETASC there's a variable where you have to bring your gun from a lower point to the higher point. You can't start mounted.
Okay.
So in sporting clays, I can start mounted on a quick trap shot. I can already be in my position and just
Mhm.
go to the target. FETASC, I now have to bring my gun up and then to the target. So it brings in
Oh.
another variable. and I can't mount until I see that target. So even if the target's flying in the air, but say it's going behind trees, I cannot mount until I see that target in my sight.
Is there a judge that makes that call?
So there is a referee. Each
Okay.
parkour will have a referee.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So
You can't cheat it.
no, it's very structured. And that's part of the reason why I like it so much. And yeah, so you have more mechanical variables that you need to work on and better yourself at. But it also tests your eyes a little bit more, because if you're angst and you're really aggressive and you're looking to get after a target, you can burn yourself pretty bad in FTAS. There's a lot of different things. Yeah.
Well, I know the sporting clays was started. The idea was this is a way to shoot clays that replicates hunting and kind of a nice way to practice hunting. And I think it used to start. You had to start from a low gun on sporting clays back when it started. And then it quickly turns into a game. People want to shoot higher scores. They talk each other into just letting them shoot with a mounted gun. And then it becomes more of a game and less about like it being like hunting. Is FTAS more like training for hunting, or is it?
I would say in some regards, yes, right? Because you're going to get the feel of not mounting until you're seeing what you're shooting at, right? So,
which is how you would actually do it in hunting, right? You're
correct.
not going to mount the gun before you see the bird. Yeah.
So yeah, I would say in that sense, definitely it's gonna resemble that a lot more.
Interesting. Talk about your gear. Guns you shoot, and just kind of how you approach this.
Absolutely. So some of the products that I trust the most are my Krieghoff Parkour, which is my firearm of choice. It's a 32-inch, very light.
32-inch barrels, everybody. Jeez. It's like a broomstick.
See, but like that's just like normal to me. I was like, it's just a 32-inch, it's like standard almost in a way, which is funny. But Krieghoff Parkour 32-inch, it's very light. I can kind of get it to go wherever I need it to. I use Bashery and Pellegrini ammunition, otherwise known as BMP.
It's funny. I mentioned this right before you got here. I said, he shoots with BMP, and good luck anyone to actually pronounce what BMP stands for. Bashery Pellegrini.
Bashery and Pellegrini, I think.
Pellegrini.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys. BMP. I'm sorry. I don't even attempt it.
But I truly believe they make the best ammunition, and it's very, very high quality, and it's light recoil, so I can stand it throughout a full day of shooting. And then Cole Gunsmithing has done a lot of my gunsmithing work, and Bear Pelt, which is a newer company as the last 4 years that makes shooting vests and apparel lines and stuff like that, and they make a really great high quality vest.
Bear Pelt.
Bear Pelt.
That's fun. That's a good name. Going back to the ammo, because when you're shooting at some of these things, I just signed up. I wouldn't even talk about this, but I did sign up for the South
Regional.
Yeah. So I'm an idiot, guys. All right, listen. I look at it like this. It's like signing up for a marathon to make yourself go run. I'm going to have to do this. I paid the money. I signed up. I got to go practice. So this is a big shoot.
Yeah.
In September.
Absolutely. So this is a shoot that we will be hosting, I want to say the 10th through the 14th, and I'm thinking we'll have around 725 competitors. Yeah,
it's a big event. So where I was going with this is I just signed up for the Sporting Clays main event, but there are, 5 or 6 different things you could sign up for. And so and most of these guys, like my buddy, I don't know if you know Paul Demko. Paul comes down. He's from Ohio, but he shoots all this stuff. He's like, dude, you got to sign up for this and this and this. And that's a lot of rounds through a 12-gauge shotgun. And talking about the ammo and just the stamina and dealing with all that.
Yeah, and I mean, the more you do it, the better you get at it. But honestly, every time I have a really good round, I almost kind of dread the headache afterwards in a way. It's just, I'm not physically tired, but it's a lot more taxing on my mind. And afterwards,
sure.
I'll have just an eye strain or a headache, and
Sure.
I'm just I just gotta go relax somewhere.
Well, it's so much eyesight with this.
Yeah.
And these guys will say, I was seeing the targets well today. And I don't know if we're still shooting, targets with dimples, but it's like I was seeing the dimples in the targets.
Yeah.
It's like a baseball hitter. He's not just seeing the ball; he's seeing the seams of the baseball that's being thrown at him at 85 or 90 miles an hour,
Yeah.
which is amazing. I mean, eyesight is such a big deal in shooting targets, and it's just such a concentration thing. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's either it's a combination of that and like the planning that goes into each station, right? So if I'm shooting, say, a 14 station course, I'm looking at 28 different targets, right, on that course. I'm game planning for each one of those targets. What am I doing in between shots? What am I doing with my eyes? And I'm making plans for all of those things. So yes, the combination between just the planning and kind of the visual effort you're putting in is a lot.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. Any tips for people that are maybe they've shot clays or whatever? Is there like a Joe's top 3, top 5, top 1.5 things of like, hey, here are the things that I see people struggle with, and easy fixes? Is there anything that can be helpful for anyone listening?
Yeah, absolutely. I think step one would be, the first thing is to find a good coach.
Okay.
And that's just like at the very base. And the only reason I say that is really because if you're trying to navigate all these different things, coming up to, it's intimidating, right? Like, what gun do I get? What ammunition do I use? Eye and ear protection, fit, stance. You trying to navigate that all on your own, you're going to have a much longer learning curve than, someone just guiding you through that process and expediting it. So I think I was very fortunate to have good coaches growing up, and it expedited that process, whereas I was trying to learn some of the stuff on my own, or, you know what I mean? And you just kind of try different things, and you don't want to build bad habits from trying different things.
A guy who was a good trainer that I shot with, one of the first times I met him, we're going out there to shoot some pistols, and it was an informal thing. He said, well, you guys want to just goof around and groove bad habits, or you want to do some training? I was like, oh, damn it. I guess we have to take this seriously.
Man, he was kind of right.
Yeah, he's probably right. But, it's so true. And you go, well, I'm going to just go out and do some shooting. And we'll joke about that with pistol shooters out here. It's like, oh, yeah, I shoot all the time. And like, what are you shooting, though? Like, what are you practicing? And if you've never taken a class or had some instruction, you don't even really know what to practice, perhaps.
Correct.
You just, shoot better, shoot harder.
Shoot more.
Shoot more.
Which is not necessarily the case. You know it, right?
Yeah.
So,
so get a coach.
Yeah, get a coach. I'd say there's no shortcut. So just a lot of repetition and volume, or as much as you can get in, right? So once you have somebody kind of help you and lay that foundation with some guidance, truly put, time and effort into it. And now the other thing is going to somewhat contradict that, or can contradict that, but don't lose the joy in it. I've found that as I've gotten older and have competed a lot more, sometimes it's hard to remember why you're doing it, right? I didn't initially fall in love with shooting because I just wanted to win, right? I initially fell in love with it because I enjoyed it. So
don't lose the joy in it.
Don't lose the joy in it. That's probably the biggest one. And,
wow.
And I see, some of the younger kids get disenchanted with their performances as they get older. And the more that becomes a chore, and the more that working towards improvement becomes a chore, that, you're looking at a way out of the sport just because of the amount that you're putting on yourself.
That's an interesting point, because if you are actually going out and shooting a sporting clays course, and you're always kind of judging yourself on that 100, like, okay, I shot, and it's like golf, right? It's a sport you can play and participate in for your entire life. And then you keep score, and everybody kind of knows, like, oh, if you're I shot an 80 or I shot a 90 in golf, right? But I had shot a 72 today. That was a good day. Judging whether it was a good day or not by how many clays you break. I mean, you could be happy with having a good performance, but don't let it bog you down, right? If you're out there and you enjoy it.
No, you're 100% right. And in a lot of scenarios, right, if my first 100 is bad, am I going to let that dictate the rest of my event?
Mm-hmm.
Which it very easily could, right? But
Sure.
if you let it do that, it will. And it'll be really easy for the wheels to just fall off. So, I mean, finding the joy in it, and the more you enjoy it, the better you're going to do, right? Do you enjoy work more or less, when you're focused on the process and doing everything you like to do? So
Sure.
keep that in the back of your mind, especially for the younger generation when you are starting to get better. It's important.
That's an interesting, it's a balance of like, you want to improve, you want to get better, but keep it fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially if you go, well, we get very goal oriented these days, right?
Yeah.
Everybody does, and everybody's sharing their goals and hustle culture or whatever the heck it is, right? And it is kind of like, but this is fun. Like this isn't serious. We're just breaking little clay targets here.
Yeah. So I mean, it's good to shine perspective on that and look at it and make it lighthearted when needed. I think you're absolutely right, but yeah. Well.
Okay, interesting. Well, good, man. Joe, thanks for being on with us. This has been fun.
Thank you for having me. It was a fun discussion.
So you guys go, I guess they can follow you on social media, right?
Yeah, Pinchin.shooting on Instagram, and the same thing on Facebook.
Okay, easy enough. You'll see him there. Maybe you'll pick up a tip. Maybe Joe will help you break, like 3 more clays. Turn it into a good day. All right, that's it for us, everybody. We'll see you next time on Gun Talk Nation.